Hello and welcome into the ETSN podcast. I'm Clint Buckley and I'm joined as always by Chandler Vessels. And the best time of the year is upon us, folks. It's playoff time in Texas, and we have 48 games this weekend involving East Texas teams and 63 area teams with goals of reaching the Mecca. That's AT&T Stadium in Arlington for the state championship. Chandler, here, you're an Oklahoma native, but I'm sure you've, through film and TV, you've heard about the phenomenon that is high school football in Texas, and you've got to experience it for 11 weeks during the regular season, but it's about to get much better, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, Friday Night Lights, one of my favorite shows growing up. Great book. You know, always heard a lot about Texas high school football, and this regular season has kind of lived up to my expectations so far. But like you said, I can only imagine it getting so much better in the playoffs. You know, competition levels are going to get better. There's going to be a lot of good games, I'm sure, and I just can't wait.
Well, we only have a few minutes, so previewing every game on the schedule ain't happening. So, if you are so inclined, however, you can visit ETSN.fm/Week 12 previews, and I promise you won't be disappointed. We've got everything covered for this week's action. What we will do is sort of break down each bracket and kind of give you an idea of what we might expect. And I guess we'll begin with 6A Division II. We have two teams from East Texas in that bracket, and that's Longview and Lufkin. Both teams have home games this week. Longview hosts Beaumont Westbrook in a rematch of last year's bi-district game, and then Lufkin is at home against Rockwall Heath out of 11-6A. I feel strongly that both teams will win their first-round games and actually get to the third round, but once they get to the regional semifinals, I think they're going to run into a little bit of trouble because you've got two pretty big powerhouses from the Houston area that are both undefeated right now, Klein Collins and Spring Westfield. I'm not sure that Longview and Lufkin have quite enough to get out of the region. I think Collins and Spring Westfield are kind of destined to meet each other in the regional finals. But that's what I think in 6A Division II. Chandler, what are your thoughts on 5A Division I? We got a couple of teams there.
Yeah, we have two games out of 5A Division I. We got Texas High versus Highland Park on Saturday at 2 p.m., and then we've got Marshall versus Mesquite Poteet at 7:30 on Friday. I'm only going to pick one of these teams to advance past this round. I'm going to take Marshall to beat Mesquite Poteet in that game. I think that the Mavericks have been playing really well as of late in that district.
6 in a row.
Yeah, six straight. Their quarterback's coming along, J.J. Green, so I like them to go at least to the next round. I don't have them advancing any far after that. And then I think Texas High versus Highland Park has the potential to be a good game, but because I think you've got two quarterback and receiver combos that are going to go at each other, because obviously you've got Tavalence Hunt and the quarterback there at Texas High, and then you've got Cade Sawstad and John Stephen Jones out of Highland Park, who've combined for almost 900 yards receiving. So I think that has the potential to be maybe a high-scoring game, but I like Highland Park in that one. And then I guess next up we've got 5A Division II. We've got a couple games actually 4 games out of that. District 2. We've got Pine Tree versus North Forney on Friday. We got Sulphur Springs versus Lucas Lovejoy on Friday. White House and A&M Consolidated on Friday. And then Jacksonville and College Station on Friday. So all those games are on Friday. I'm going to start with Pine Tree and North Forney. Pine Tree's been a surprise making the playoffs this year, but sadly for them, I think their journey will end in the first round against North Forney. I actually only like Sulphur Springs to win out of that group of games right there. I think Ryan Humphreys has been doing a solid job at quarterback for them. They've got a couple good receivers that he's got targets to. D. Dugan has been one of our leaders on defense, with tackles for loss. I believe he has somewhere around 20 of those.
Yeah.
So I really like them to advance at least to the second round. I don't think they'll go much further than that either. White House this season, I've seen them 3 times play. They have a lot of potential. They could end up winning this game. They have a lot of talent on their team from what I've seen. I really like their running back, Clayton Cook. I think he's good. I really like Cameron Cantrell, the Texas Tech commit. And their defensive line is just full of size and potential, but so far this season they really haven't lived up to it in the games that I've seen. So I like A&M Consolidated to take that one, and then I also like College Station to get out of that game with Jacksonville in the first round as well.
Yeah, I mean, so you're picking Marshall and Sulphur Springs, and that would actually be an improvement over last year in East Texas because all of our 5A teams lost in the first round last year. So I agree with you. I think Marshall has a chance against Poteet. They've won 6 in a row, but they haven't really played what I would call tough competition, and I think that could be a key for them in this game and then moving forward. On to 4A Division I. Look. Carthage is the prohibitive favorite to repeat as champs. I mean, they started the year ranked number 1 in the state. They're going to end the regular season ranked number 1 in the state. I've seen them a handful of times this year. I think they're better than they were last year. Keontae Ingram, yes, he's great, and he's one of the reasons why they're as good as they are. But they have other people too. They have Gunnar Capps at quarterback, who stepped in nicely in his first year as a starter. You've got great receivers when you're talking about D. Bowens and DeWaylen Ingram and Makai Colbert. Their defense is really good, especially the linebackers with Michael Gates and Ahmad Brown. Just a really solid all-around team for Carthage. I got them running through Region 3, running up against a very good Waco La Vega team in the semifinals. La Vega is undefeated as well, and I think ranked in the top 5 in the state poll in 4A. And then I have them hooking up with Kennedale in the state championship game, and I think Carthage will have what it takes to get the job done again, which would be their 6th state title in 11 years.
That's insane.
6. So Carthage is rolling, and I expect them to continue to roll. And on to 4A Division II. We've got an interesting team here that's making noise this season. That you're used to hearing about Gilmer in 4A Division II, but from that same district, there's another team that's kind of risen and kind of taken that baton.
Yeah, Pleasant Grove has had a great season. Undefeated. They beat Gilmer. They handed Gilmer their first home loss in district play in quite some time. So it's been a great year for Pleasant Grove, and they're going to start off with Tatum at 7 p.m. Friday in Tatum, home game for the Eagles, but. I still like Pleasant Grove, even though Tatum will have the home field advantage. I still like Pleasant Grove to win that one. They've got Ben Harmon, who's, he's thrown for over 1,000 yards, but he's done so on only 52 completions. That's insane.
It's like whenever they do decide to throw, it goes for 30 yards plus, and it goes for a touchdown. I need to look and see I need to look at the stats further. I need to see what his touchdowns to completions ratio is, because it's got to be pretty.
It's pretty good. I think he's got about 20 touchdowns. So
yeah.
And it's not just him. They've got T.J. Cole over 1,000 yards rushing. They've got Caleb Portia, who's been great for them on defense. They're a very well-rounded team, and that's why I think they have a chance to advance to that as far as the state championship. Now, it's going to be tough. I have them facing West Orange Stark, who's looking for their 3rd straight championship. But so I have them losing in that game. But it's going to be a great year for the Eagles or for the Hawks, and I think it's better than, from what I've been able to tell, better than what they've done in years past. So.
I think they're 1 win away. If they win this week, they will I think either tie or break their school record for wins in a season. So I think the school record is either 10 or 11. So I want to say they'll tie it with a win. So yeah, great season for Pleasant Grove, and if they could get to the state championship game, not necessarily win it, because that would be a tall task, as you mentioned, against West Orange Start. But if they got there, that'd be great, and we'd be talking about Josh Gibson as potential coach of the year, and that's a whole other discussion. We've already kind of been discussing our players of the year and all of that for our super team, but that's coming much later. We got business to take care of first. That's 4A Division II. 3A Division I. We had a state champion come out of 3A Division I last year, Mineola. What are you looking for in 3A Division I, and what do you kind of project out for East Texas in that bracket?
Well, there's 3 or 4 teams I think that have the potential to advance pretty far in this division. We got Jefferson, who's came close to an undefeated season, only to be beaten by White Oak. And speaking of White Oak, we've also got White Oak in this division. So
we do.
I think them, along with Mount Vernon, who finished the season undefeated, got that victory against the defending state champion Mineola that I was there to watch.
Rather emphatic victory, by the way.
Yeah, 60-21. They did not hold back in that game. So those three teams are definitely going to be players. Then you've got Woodville and Malakoff too. So
yeah, Malakoff is a reigning state semifinalist, and Woodville is just a one-loss team. The interesting thing about that is if they win their games this week, they'll play each other. So one of those teams is going to be going home after, if not this round, next round. So a lot to look at in 3A Division I. I mean, Mineola's struggled, and we kind of figured they would because their new coach, and they lost pretty much everyone off of that state championship team last year. But they still made the playoffs, and I think they finished as the second seed in that district behind only Mount Vernon. Who knows? Mount Vernon might be taking the baton from Mineola coming out of that district and representing East Texas in the state championship game. We'll just have to wait and see. But 3A Division I, it's intriguing, but I think all of the magic, so to speak, is going to happen in Region 2 this year. I think we talked about White Oak, Mount Vernon, and Jefferson. Those three teams, I think, have the best potential in 3A Division I to represent East Texas beyond regional play. So now on to 3A Division II. It's loaded. I mean, you look top to bottom. You got unbeaten Harmony in Region 2. But they'd have to get past a defending state champion and number one Gunner in the regional final if they want to get to the state championship game. So you got Harmony in Region 2. Newton, they're undefeated. They're probably the favorite out of Region 3. A lot of people around the state are picking them as state champions this year. They have them as the favorite to win state. And I think they get redemption from last season, and I think it starts this week. With the team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year, ARP. It's funny how kind of fate and destiny work out. Newton was so dominant all of last season, and they were almost a shoo-in to make the state championship game and maybe even win it last year. And then ARP happens in the regional final, 13-6. I mean, it was a defensive game, which we kind of expected, but Newton was rolling on offense too, and ARP's defense just came to play. And I have a feeling that if Newton has the chance, they're not going to hold back against ARP on Thursday. It's a game that you're going to be at, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But I can't wait for how things shake out in Region 2. I think Harmony has a really good chance to at least get to the regional finals. They've been so dominant this year. I mean, they're beating teams by an average of like 45 points per game. Mm-hmm. They really haven't been tested except for a game against Wascom early in the season. They won by 7 points a game that you saw in person. It's been smooth sailing ever since then for Harmony, and who knows? It might be smooth sailing all the way into the regional final against a team like Gunner. We mentioned the state champions a year ago, and they're playing as well, if not better, than they were last year. So, but in Region 3, I think it's Newton, even though I think District 9 is very deep, top to bottom, because you got West Rusk, you got Wascom, you got Elysian Fields, you got ARP. But I just think Newton is head and shoulders above everyone else in that region this year. I really do. I don't think District 9 this year is as good as it was last year, because ARP, I believe, was a third place team out of District 9 last year and got all the way to the regional finals. I don't think something like that could happen again this year out of that district. So I think Newton is clearly the favorite in Region 3, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go all the way and perhaps knock off a Harmony or Gunter in the state championship game. How cool would that be? An All-East Texas state championship game between Newton and Harmony, because both teams would be undefeated at that point. Yeah. And it would be awesome. It's happened a couple of times before. We've had an All-East Texas championship game. Wascom and Newton played each other a few years ago. Kilgore and Carthage famously a handful of years ago. Chapel Hill and Henderson played each other. It's fun when Region 2 and Region 3 are comprised of East Texas teams both. And they're able to get to the state championship game. But Class 3A Class 3A Division 2 is always a fun bracket to watch, especially in East Texas. And I think the area has a great chance to get to Arlington, either in Region 2 or Region 3. In 2A Division 1, I think the three best teams in Region 3 are all from the same district, and that's District 11 2A. I think you've got San Augustine, you've got Joaquin, you've got Carlisle. And if you want to, you can throw Alto in that mix. Alto actually finished ahead of Carlisle based on their 3-point win in district. But I think at some point those teams are all going to get another shot at San Augustine in the playoffs, whether that's Carlisle again, whether that's Joaquin again. I think the district is that good to where they're probably just going to beat up on each other once the playoffs get going. But I think San Augustine gets it done. I think they're clearly better than the teams in their district, even though the teams in their district are very good. I mean, you saw them against Joaquin. They got off to a really hot start, and I think Joaquin made a kind of a push against them. But San Augustine was kind of able to close the door on them. San Augustine is really good. I still don't think they're playing up to their very best potential. I mean, they are on defense, but on offense, I think there's still another gear they can get to. And if they hit it in the playoffs, look out, because this could be a team that could go a really long way. They would have a tall task, I think, if they got out of the region into the semifinals, because you're looking at either a Refugio or a Mason. Both teams are very good. Refugio is a state power, and they've got a lot of Texas rooting for them this year, just based on what happened earlier this year with the hurricane. And then Mason's obviously really good. I think they're ranked number 2 in the state in Class 2A, and they're undefeated. So that brings us to the final bracket, and that's Class 2A Division 2. And I think we're both in agreement. There's one team and one team only that we need to be looking at in this, and that's Tenaha.
Yeah, Tenaha is far and away the favorite in this division, in this region. I have them winning the state championship. I think they're really balanced on offense. They have a great running back in Ontario Thompson. He's always at the top of the leaderboards whenever I'm doing the stats. He's got, I believe it's over 1,400 yards that he's accumulated this season. They have a quarterback, CJ Horn, who's a senior. He doesn't make many mistakes. He doesn't throw many interceptions. He's got a lot of experience with the team.
Coach's son.
Yeah.
Yep.
They have a lot of good guys on defense. Tavoris Giles. He's got over 100 tackles, I believe, close to 20 for loss. And Trey Gardner is a good receiver. So that team as a whole is just really – it doesn't seem like they have many weaknesses. And I don't really see them having any trouble early on, and I see them just kind of rolling to the state championship in this division, in this region. Yeah,
in Region 3, the region they're in, I think there's just one team that you have to kind of look at, and that's Bremond. That's a team that beat Tenaha last year, but Bremond was a special case. They had the dynamic quarterback, Roshad Paul, who's now at Texas A&M. He's gone now. So Tenaha can kind of breathe a sigh of relief. Yeah. They don't have to run into him this year, but I do think they'll probably run into Bremond again in the regional final, but I think Tenaha gets it done this time. So that's kind of a quick rundown of what our thoughts are on all the different brackets and the high school playoffs concerning East Texas teams. Real quick, I guess we'll explain where we're going to be this weekend. Thursday, I'm going to hit up Panther Stadium in Longview at Spring Hill High School for New Diana against Winona. I finally get to see New Diana's high-octane offense led by Jackson Sampson, their quarterback, and then they've got 2 receivers, T.J. Rogers, Cody Payton, who are right up there as far as receiving in East Texas as well. That's Thursday, and Chandler, you're going back to St. Augustine. It seems like you were just there, but you're going back Thursday.
Yeah, I'm gonna make the 2-hour trip back out there, but I'm really excited because I think these are 2 of the best players in the state that I'm gonna get to see, and DeMarvion Overstone, the Texas commit, he's a top 50 player in the country. Mm-hmm. For ARP, he's really, outside of him, I don't know how much firepower ARP has, but I'm really excited to get to watch him and see what he's all about. It'll be my first time to see him in person, so I know he plays offense, defense for them. He runs, catches.
Does it all.
He does pretty much everything. I remember one of the recaps I did this season, he scored all their points. So.
Yep.
But then Newton, on the other hand, has Demazier Brown.
Yeah.
Just crazy with those interceptions. He's got like 10, I think, in 9 games.
Yeah.
He's leading, and he's played less games than many of the other people on that leaderboard. So Expect him to maybe get one or two more of those in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's a special player, and Newton's got a lot of good players. I mean, it's not just him, but Tamazier Brown, goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 interceptions, and then we don't even talk about what he does on offense. I mean, he's a great receiver on offense. I mean, he carries the ball. I mean, he's just a tremendous athlete. He's already got an Oklahoma State offer as a junior. We know more is coming. He's one of the state's best prospects in the 2019 class, and I know you're going to have a good time watching the two of those guys, Arp and Newton, DeMarvion Overshone and Tamazier Brown. It should be a lot of fun. Friday, I'm going to go be in Corsicana to cover Henderson against Navasota. I get to see quarterback Trey Hall again. He has really come on these last few weeks for them. He's playing great. Friday, you're going to Marshall.
Yeah, I'll get to see Poppy Brown again. Saw him against Carthage. Not the best game for him, but I know he's better than that. Carthage is just really good.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to get to watch him play die-ball and maybe see a better game of his. And
then Saturday, I'll be sleeping. Chandler, I'm putting you to work a little bit on Saturday, but at least it's not an early game. You're going to be down to Russ covering Groveton and Carlisle.
Yeah. Carlisle, one of those teams that we talked about out of 2A that's got a chance to make some noise. So I'm excited to get out there. Not as far of a drive, so I'm looking forward to that on Saturday. And 5:30 is an early enough start to where I can have an evening too. So, but I'm really excited to watch these two teams go at it and see who can come out on top. So.
All right, so before we get out of the way, we want to give a special shout out to our offensive and defensive players of the week from Week 11. First up on offense, Atlanta quarterback Andrew Samples. He passed for 315 yards and 4 touchdowns. And ran for 164 yards and 4 touchdowns. And the Rabs 56-49 win over Spring Hill. That's crazy. He scores all 8 touchdowns, and they win by 7 points. So obviously it was a big effort by Andrew Sample. So congratulations to him, our offensive player of the week. And on defense,
yeah, we got Kilgore defensive lineman Demora Richardson. He's got 10 tackles, 2 for loss, 2 sacks, a blocked punt, and a forced fumble. And the Bulldogs 56-25 win over Bullard, a big win for them. And he definitely played a huge part in it. It seems like he was all over the field in that one.
Yeah, I mean, and for those of you that weren't aware, I mean, they got down 19-0 in this game. Kilgore did, and this is a game they had to win. If they lose, they don't make the playoffs. And not only do they win, they score 56 of the final, 62 points in that game. So Mr. Richardson did a great job. So did Mr. Samples. Congratulations to those players of the week on offense and defense. That's going to do it. Don't forget to download the free ETSN mobile app. It's the perfect way to keep up with all the playoff action this weekend. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Clint Buckley. You're at Chandler Vessels. Or you can follow our main account at ETSN.fm. Playoffs. There are 14 games tomorrow, 31 on Friday, and 3 on Saturday. For Chandler Vessels, I'm Clint Buckley. Enjoy and be well.